Hello people of YouTube, my name is Brad, this is my channel Animate Orange, and welcome to the review video for the Metal Earth Monster Truck build. My first build of 2019, and this was an interesting little build, another vehicle, but it certainly has its differences from any of the other vehicles that I've built with Metal Earth. You spend probably about half of the build on this just worrying with these big giant tires, which is really no big surprise. I'll start by saying in this build, in the instructions, you can kind of see over time I can kind of see over time having built so many of these Metal Earth models, certain steps in evolution in the instructions or the assembly flowchart, and I'm starting to see more and more, and with this build I'm seeing more and more tips in the instructions to help you build. And one thing that I saw 2 or 3 times in this build was a tip of what tab to start with, and I've seen that in a couple other builds. I'm starting to see it more, and with this one I completely agree. There were a few times where it said start, when you're connecting these pieces, start with this particular tab, and it would highlight it, and I agree that is the best way to start, with that tab, and then get the other things in place. So the instructions continue to slowly improve as time goes on. Then again, after having said that, there was one instance where when I was doing the headlights and I clipped out 2 of the same numbered tabs, or at least I thought I did, and went to put them on, and one of them didn't seem to want to fit in that area. Now the headlights look the same, they just have tabs arranged slightly differently because they fit on different sides. So I don't know, maybe I mistakenly clipped out the wrong part and mixed it up. Maybe it was mislabeled. I'm not exactly sure. I just went ahead and put the piece on the other side against where it said it was supposed to go, tried to clip out another one of the correct part, and it didn't fit either. So it's kind of hard to go back and see, you know, the camera's only focused on what I'm building and not which parts I'm clipping out, and it's kind of hard to tell if I made the mistake or it was mislabeled, but watch out for that. It really doesn't matter in the end. Just flip the headlight to the other side and it'll be just fine. When you get to the part where you're kind of building the axle ends or the rear ends, you've got this little cone shaped piece that you form, and you form the shape, and then you have to put it around the metal piece there. If you leave just a little bit of a gap, that is part 7. Leave a little bit of a gap so when you shape it, you've got the general shape, because it's going to be hard to shape as you wrap around it. Get the general shape, leave a gap, slide it over that piece of metal and into place. Give it a little pinch close, and that should work pretty good for you. That worked pretty good for me. You start off by building this undercarriage piece. You put the seats and the center console together and have that ready to go. But at some point you get to the wheels, and that's where you're going to spend most of your time, because each one of these wheels is 2 separate parts with these track pieces fanned out flat. And if you've ever built the tractor from Metal Earth, you kind of know what I mean. It's very much like the tractor with these thick pieces of the tire. You actually have to fold up and over. So you're going to spend a lot of time. Each wheel has 2 pieces with tracks that fold down, so you're going to have to fold the side pieces and the end piece on each one of those tracks all the way around for each side. Eventually you'll put the 2 together and fold them down. Also, when you're building the outside part of the tire, make sure that that center piece is facing the correct way. I wanted to put that center piece with the detail facing outside of the tunnel that you're making. But because it's such a big tire, that's actually sunk in. You want to make sure you're putting that piece in correctly. Also, because this is so sunk in, it's also sunk in on the back side as well. It makes it challenging to get that tire over those 3 tabs and lined up. You're going to spend a fair amount of time working and adjusting and not being able to see what you're doing getting that on. Once you get the 2 sides and all the sides of the tracks folded in, shaped, you put the halves together, you fold the tracks in. Start on the inside, start on the outside, whichever makes you comfortable. What I originally started doing was trying to fold it so that the 2 ends of the tracks or treads met. And at some point I looked at the picture and went, oh wait, they're not supposed to meet. They're supposed to be, the ends are supposed to be staggered. And I started doing it that way. I did go back and try to make some corrections on the tires that I'd already done, and I still need to do some work to it. But honestly, I just kind of wanted to finish the build and get done with it. I'm going to have to spend more time on my own to actually correct the tracks so that they're set side by side, but I wanted to get this video done. So I went ahead and continued on with the build moving forward. Once you get beyond forming these tires and attaching them, getting that all straightened out, the rest of it's pretty quick and simple. You put the side pieces on, you've got the cabin part in place, you shape this back rail and cover piece to the bed, you put the grill on, everything just kind of comes together fairly quickly at that point. You know, the hood is one piece, and I suggest kind of once you form it, you're at that right angle, open up a little bit, maybe get the hood on there and then bend the front over the tabs. And you might want to do something similar for the back. And for this top piece, you kind of want to open them back up a little bit to get one tab in place, fold the other section over the tabs, and there you go. You spend so much time on the wheels and you think, I've still got to go do the body, then the body comes together pretty good, and then you're done, or pretty quick, and then you're done. So in the end, the final result is a really neat looking little monster truck. You know, I kept thinking towards the end of this build, is this supposed to look like Bigfoot but not be Bigfoot? I'm not sure. Remember Bigfoot back in the day? Anyway, I'm not sure. Still, cool little monster truck. It is tedious and aggravating building and shaping all of these tracks for all of these tires. Again, if you've built the tractor, you know what I'm talking about. This is worse. This is a lot worse. It's tedious, but in the end it's worth it. You're going to spend a lot of time correcting and getting things just right, depending on how detail oriented you are and how detail oriented you want to be. Depends on how well this is going to turn out. But if you put the time in it, it's going to look really cool. The tires are going to be most of your concern. The rest of it's going to pretty much fall into place fairly easily. If you've had any experience building these models, the rest of it's going to come together fairly easily. It's not, the tracks are what make it a difficult build. The rest of it, not that big a deal. So kind of final thoughts on this build now that I've got it all finished and complete. You know, originally I didn't know what to expect with this particular build, with the exception of the tires. I knew the tires were going to be a pain with the tread. I kind of knew the tread was going to be similar to the tractor, and I knew that was going to be a pain. But beyond that, I had almost no idea what to expect with the rest of the build. The rest of the build was fairly easy and really simple, and compared to many of the other things I've done, no big deal at all. The tires were the main issue. The rest of it was nothing. So it was fairly enjoyable and an interesting change from many of the models I have already built. I was very excited to get this model. I'd had someone request it, and I was very excited to get it from Metal Earth to build and review. It did ultimately take longer, or it felt like it took longer than I expected. I kind of expected it. I didn't really think it through with the difficulty in the tires, but I didn't expect to take it for it to take very long, and it ended up taking a bit longer. Felt like it took a bit longer, and you know, final review it took 3 hours and 15 minutes, so it did take a little bit of time, a little bit more than I expected it would take. And one last thing, the instructions are improving. You know, kudos to Metal Earth. Over the years that I've been building these models, there have been small improvements in the instructions, and I'm seeing with this model that trend continuing, as I've noted with the instructions saying this is a good place to start, and they're right on target with that. So well done, Fascinations, well done Metal Earth on the instructions and on this kit. It's a neat little kit, a different kit, a monster truck kit, fun to build, definitely a challenge with the tires, but definitely worth it in the end. I have to say, of the basic vehicle models that they come out with, like the cab and the Mustang, I haven't done the cab yet, but the Mustang, some of the other basic vehicles, this one is the most interesting. The monster truck is the most interesting, but also the most tedious. Worth the build though, very much worth the build. I do want to thank Metal Earth Fascinations for sending me this model to review. Yes, they actually sent this to me for me to make an honest review, and I've done the best that I can being honest about it. I've enjoyed the model. Frustrated at one point, but that tends to happen. There's a lot of bits and details and pieces that you have to work through to make these things work. So there's a sacrifice and a cost to getting these neat little models that you end up with. And for me, it's an exercise in patience, and I need that. I need that exercise in patience to make me patient sometimes with the rest of the world. I'll leave it at that. As always, thank you for watching. If you enjoy these videos, consider becoming a Patreon supporter. A little bit goes a long way to help me continue to make these videos, review videos, build videos, and news videos. Again, thank you for watching, and thank you to my Patreon supporters so far. Keep on, keep it on.